my children were 2 and 4 years old, we were fairly new arrivals in a small Vermont town. I had recently become a single parent. One afternoon, I was on the phone, back when phones plugged into the wall, and my older one came running in and said, "Mommy, Mommy, Noah is yogurt skiing in the kitchen." Now, you would think that this phrase, yogurt skiing, might have caught my attention. No, it didn't. I said, great, yeah, and went right back to my phone call. She did seem a little surprised by that, but then recalculating, very happily ran off to the kitchen to yogurt ski with her little brother. I do think of parenting as being about attention, a constant cascade of attention given or not given, intentional, or sometimes arising out of an unplanned response that startles even us, the already grown-up. We speak or think better of it. We're up off the couch in time, and sometimes we're just really not. We're sympathetic, or we're not. And it is this long arc of moments between caregiver and child that does shape the hearts and minds of our kids. The science does tell us, of course, that it's important that on balance, these interactions are consistent, predictable, responsive, and of course, kind, especially in the early years. It is this contact that literally builds the brain. But by my calculations, any parent, really, on average, on a given day, is making about 100 small or large decisions about how, if, or when to respond. So do the math. I did. Birth to 18, that's 657,000 times that a parent will need to make some kind of decision throughout that child's life. It's kind of a tall order, really. So let's return to the kitchen with delighted children squealing and the contents of a big bulk yogurt container, the perfect medium for slipping and sliding. Eventually, a little bell had gone off in my head, and my attention had turned to the right place. And because I'm telling you this story today, no, I didn't yell at them. But I might have, and maybe even should have, because we all know it's not okay to go into the fridge without permission, take food out, and then rub it all over the floor with your body. So many small decision points. So many times to try and be in the right room, at the right time, with the right tone. So in this very same kitchen, there was a jagged wooden edge along the Formica counter where there should have been a strip of trim. And I'd always wondered about that. And one day a neighbor came in and said, "Oh yeah, there used to be like a kitchen island right here. And but the dad who lived here before you, he just got so sick of his kids just throwing down their backpacks and their wet mittens and their homework papers. He just came in one day with a chainsaw and he sawed the island off." Okay, so not ideal, clearly, an angry dad with a chainsaw. But I understand, and even 20 years later, I still understand. I understand the accumulation of fatigue, isolation, sometimes even desperation, that can lead to a chainsaw response. It is just one moment in time, after all, and parents will face over 500,000 of those kinds of decisions. In the current work that I do, I coach families live as they interact with their kids, and I'm behind a one-way mirror, and they have a bug in their ear. And what we're looking to do is to amplify their particular use of specific skills. But more importantly, I think the power of it is that that bug in the ear carries attention for them. The whole process is about attending to the parent, literally moment to moment, giving immediate encouragement for every positive word, gesture, decision they're making, replacing perhaps less productive voices lingering in their ear from their own growing up. I think that the parents I work with show a lot of courage in coming out of their homes and literally parenting right in front of someone else. Doing so because how they're currently giving each other attention is just not working well enough. But in our culture, it seems that most of us really are parenting primarily behind closed doors, and for many, or some anyway, parenting behind closed doors alone. Almost 40% of children born in the US today are born to single parents, and about 25% of children will live their life in a single-parent home usually headed up by the mom or another female caregiver. And while I honor the bravery, certainly, and the determination, I'm also afraid for the isolation of those parents. I was afraid for myself when I became that statistic. And so I think a lot about how, beyond even the professional supports we provide, how can we all offer simple daily gestures to everyone parenting? Offering a ride, dropping in, lingering over the photos of someone's kids at work just a little bit longer, commiserating, celebrating. How can we amplify into the voice of every parent, regardless of class or circumstance? How can we send the message, you are doing the hard, crucial work of growing people up, literally building our species? I think that small gestures of accompaniment go a long way for anyone who is parenting. Shortly after I moved to that small Vermont town, a neighbor came up our walk, knocked on the door, and did just that for me. A simple gesture of attention that led to me belonging in that new community and not parenting behind closed doors alone. That day back in the kitchen when I just decided to laugh at the yogurt mess and corral my kids into cleaning up with me, I was accompanied. There were many voices in my ear. My mother's great sense of humor, the legacy of an unflappable grandmother figure, and also my neighbor's new friendship. And those all contributed to that small moment in our kitchen resolving itself fairly well. The dad who grabbed the chainsaw to solve his children's messy habits in that very same kitchen, I am certain that he loved his children as much as I did mine. And I do not know whose voices were in his ear that day. But what I do know is that him on a good parenting day and me on a bad parenting day, we would easily have passed, right in the middle. My hope for us both, that we would always be able to find the attention and love of others to accompany us in what I see as both a completely natural, yet somewhat improbable undertaking that we call parenting.